Our interview this morning is with Sam D. Baker. Sam was born in Mansfield, Texas, May of 1927. He served in the U.S. Army from September of 1950 until September of 1952. His highest rank attained was sergeant. And this interview is conducted at Burleson, Texas on Friday, November the 12th, year 2010. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Mr. Baker. Also in the room is Milton Gibson, who is our videographer. This interview is conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress and also for Operation Remember, City of Burleson, Texas. And with that introduction, Mr. Baker, you can tell us about your time in the Army. Might start with why you chose the Army, or did they choose you?
They chose me.
Oh.
I did, in a way, I did volunteer, though, because I was working at aircraft plant in Fort Worth. And my job, they would hold my job for me, and I was got an exemption from service. But all my buddies were going, so I just went ahead and decided I'd go too. So that's how that came about.
Go ahead, sir. Tell us about your time in the Army.
Of course, they sent me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and that's where we received our orders, and I was eventually sent to Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and I had all my basic training there, and later was sent to advanced training in the northeastern part of the United States. I can't even think where it was now. And came back, and I was staying at Fort Leonard Wood, and all of my work was being done there. And after a while, I eventually got kind of tired of that and decided that I wanted to do something else. So I volunteered to go overseas to, at that time, of course, Korea. So they granted that, and I went.
You were working at what was Consolidated?
It was Consolidated, yes.
Okay.
Aircraft plant.
What were you working on out there?
B-36.
B-36.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think like a lot of other fellows, particularly in Texas, all your friends were going, so
Absolutely.
that was the thing to do.
Yeah. I knew that if I didn't, later on, I would regret it. You know, all these other guys going and me not having to.
You went up to Leonard Wood. Had you ever been out of Texas?
Oh, yeah, I'd been out a few times, California and a few places like that.
Okay. What did your folks do in Mansfield?
Well, at that time, they were living in Denison, but in Mansfield, my dad worked for the Gulf Oil Company back when I was a little kid. We went to Denison, Texas, and he worked up there for several years before he was drafted. And that's when mine started.
He was drafted for Korea?
He was drafted for the World War II.
World War II,
yes.
Okay.
1943, I believe, is when he was drafted.
Okay. What do you think about your life at basic at Leonard Wood?
It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I really did. I know that sounds strange, but hey, it was all right.
It's a different answer than I get from most fellows.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. They'll put you in pretty good physical condition, and I appreciated that.
Okay, sir. Did you go to an A school or any kind of school? Well, yes, you went up to the Northeast somewhere. What kind of school did they send you to up there?
Believe it or not, probably one of the sorriest things that I could possibly do, and that is as an automotive mechanic. I have no talent for that, really and truly.
You didn't have any talent, but the Army selected
They sent
you to...
me, they selected and sent me up there, yeah.
Okay. And do you remember how long you were up there?
Well, I got my first promotion to PFC when I was up there, and I think I had been there about 8 weeks, as I remember, something like that.
After being up there for 8 weeks, they bring you back to Leonard Wood.
Yes.
And what'd you do at Leonard Wood?
Well, when I came back, I went to the, I'm having trouble in my old age of recalling things, but at the, where I was supposed to be working as a mechanic, but anyway, I never did do that. They just put me as one who was taking care of the gasoline station and,
Okay.
loading up all the cars and keeping records on the vehicles that were going out, the heavy equipment, and so on and so forth. And I did a little bit of work in there as working on various parts of the engine, tune-ups and things like that.
Were you married?
And not at that time, no.
Okay. So you were a single PFC at
Fort Leonard Wood,
Leonard
Missouri.
Wood and decided that was a little boring and you want to do something else.
Well, yeah, I'd been there ever since I first went into the service practically, so we'd been there 18 months or so, 17 months. And of course, we were only drafted for 2 years, is what we expected.
What'd you do at Leonard Wood for free time, recreation time? You'd been in for a year and a half, so
Yeah.
you did have like weekends off, I guess. Knowing
I
where
spent-
Leonard Wood is, what'd you do on the weekend?
Well, the little town that's there, we'd go to there during the week when we got an opportunity to. But I have been to St. Louis. I used to go up and watch the Cardinals play baseball up there. I've been to Chicago from there and Springfield. I had a lot of fun in Springfield on weekends. So those were the three places primarily that we would go.
And you played, just listening, you played a lot of softball or baseball?
I played baseball there on the team there for a couple of years, 1 year.
Did the baseball ever figure in anything else in your military life? Did it help you?
I think it did. I think it helped. In other words, quite a few people knew me, and we had a lot of fun and got together and made a lot of friends that way anyway.
You never got to play on like the division team though?
No, the division team was a team that stayed there. They were not moving around or anything. They just represented Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Their time in the military was playing baseball.
Playing baseball primarily.
And
Had a good team, too.
It was a pretty good life, I imagine, for those fellas.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Okay, you volunteer. How'd you get to Korea?
Well, I had 2 weeks at home. I could go home for 2 weeks. And then I was put on a bus, and I went to Washington, Seattle, Washington. And that's where I shipped out from.
You rode the bus from Fort Worth?
Yes, well, from Lillian, little town below Fort Worth,
Okay.
South Fort Worth. And yeah.
The bus left from Lillian, Texas?
No. It left from Fort Worth.
Okay.
Yeah, but my dad took me up there
Okay.
to catch the bus.
Okay. How long did it take you to get to Seattle?
As I recall, it was 2 days and nights. It might have been a little longer than that, but I know it was quite a while.
On a bus?
Yeah.
I spent 16 hours on a bus one time, and I remember it pretty distinctly. I didn't like it.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I got off in Denver and spent the night and then hopped back on the bus the next day.
Okay. Okay, so you're in Seattle, and you're there for, I guess, a couple days?
3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days, and then they put you on
Troop ship.
troop ship?
Yeah, went across.
Was that a pleasant ride?
It wasn't bad. It
Wasn't bad.
wasn't too bad. No. I had been in the Merchant Marines for a long time. I'd already sailed in the Pacific Ocean for a long time.
Okay. When were you in the Merchant Marine?
I got in the Merchant Marines when I was, before I was 18. I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And that was at the tail end, last 6 or 7 months of the World War II.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I sailed all over the Pacific, and matter of fact, going through the Straits of Malacca, we lost our tailpipe, our screw, propeller. And so we sat out there for 21 days in the Persian Gulf.
Wow. 21 days adrift, no power?
No. We were anchored down,
Oh,
but we had no
okay.
power.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had to wait until a company ship could come out
Okay.
and bring us what we
Bring
needed.
you a screw?
Well,
and-
actually, what they did, they towed us into Bombay, India, and that's where the replacement took place.
What'd you do on these merchant ships?
Well, I was a deckhand, and I was an AB seaman, able-bodied seaman, which means that I'm doing a lot of the steering, you're on watch 4 hours and you're off 8, constantly, all the way through.
Okay.
And we do painting and chipping and primarily, and cleaning the holes. I was on T2 tankers carrying high-octane gasoline, aviation
Wow.
gasoline.
And you did this at the end of the war.
Yeah, the last
So,
6 months of the war.
Certainly, Japanese submarines were.
They were
on your
around.
mind.
They were around somewhere, and also one thing you had to watch for was mines that had been planted. Going through the Straits of Malacca, that was mined when we went through there.
I suppose both Japanese mines and British and U.S. mines?
Yeah.
Anybody and everybody's. Okay. You served this time in a merchant marine, and then you went in the Army.
Yeah.
You ever consider going in the Navy?
Well, you see, the thing is, if you remember, I said that I was drafted.
Oh.
Only I
okay.
didn't have to go because
Okay.
of the exemption that I could have had, but I chose to
Okay.
go ahead and go.
Okay.
So anyway, it was Army.
Okay. Okay, so you're on your way to Korea, and you've been on merchant ships, so this is no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the sailing was
Instead of
fine.
having a job to do, you're sitting in a deck chair watching the world go by.
Not
Not
exactly.
quite.
They've
Okay.
got you doing stuff on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you get to Korea? What year, sir?
As I recall, it was like February of 40. Let's see, when was of 50, 52.
Fe-
52.
February of 52?
I went in. Let's see. I went in 50,
Yes, sir.
and so it was in 50.
February of 50.
Yes.
The war had the war started?
In Korea?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you'd been a mechanic at Fort Leonard Wood. Did you do the same thing in Korea?
No, as a matter of fact, they put me in the military police unit.
Okay. And what did you do as an MP?
We patrolled the roads going to the front and all around, and we set up stations, where we had people all the time watching, and on the alert, just guard duty primarily. And then, of course, they sent us on up. When my time came to be discharged, when it got within about a couple of months, then I got out of there and went up to the front for a while, and then we came back to the southern tip of Korea and spent the last part of my time in the service there. And they sent us to Kojido Island, which is where the prisoners were kept, and we guarded prisoners for about 5 or 6 weeks, something like that.
When you went to the front,
Yeah.
I guess you were at the front. There was shooting.
Well, at the time, it was just a holding situation because of the peace talks at Panmunjom.
Okay.
Now, there was shooting, and there was airplane from our part. And there were rifle fire quite a bit. And always you'd have someone on patrol at night, guarding the neutral territory there.
You were in Korea during the winter.
In the, yes, part of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it cold?
Pretty cold, and then it got pretty hot later in the summer.
Kind of like being in the Panhandle. Peace talks were going on.
Yeah.
part in that at all? Do you have anything to do with that?
We didn't hear a whole lot about it. Our job at that time, while I was in the military police, was just to patrol those roads and to watch out for any enemy that could be, breaking through, or for our own soldiers. In other words, we'd have some once in a while that slip away from the front, and want to move back into the.
So they would be AWOL,
Yeah.
and if you saw them and found them, if you saw a strange GI wandering down the highway, you would stop and.
You had to do that, yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And if he didn't have some real excuse for being there, you would round him up and take him to the brig or wherever.
I didn't have to do that, but yes, that was done quite a lot.
Okay. You ended your career in Korea, down south, guarding prisoners.
Right.
What do you think about the I guess were they North Koreans?
Oh yeah, North Koreans.
Any Chinese in with them?
Didn't know it. Yeah, there were some Chinese on Kojido Island.
Okay.
I don't know how many, but there were.
You have any impression of those Koreans? Were they good soldiers or?
Talking about the North Koreans?
Yes, yes, sir.
I suppose they were. I think the South Koreans were fine people. I really enjoyed learning, all about them.
They were fine people as civilians.
Well, and they
as
they
military?
had plenty of what it takes. I mean, they would fight you. I guarantee you. Give them a rifle, and they'd get out there and be ready to go.
Okay. When you got out, I guess you came back on a ship also?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And what did you do after you came back?
Well, I went back to my job at the bomber plant out there.
Still building, well, they wouldn't have been building B-36s then, I guess, were they?
Yeah, I think that's.
They still were?
Yeah, they still had some to go.
So you just kind of had a 2-year...
2-year vacation.
You bet. Excuse me, you were not married initially when you were in service. Did you get married while you were in?
No,
No?
got married after I got out.
Okay. Girl of your dreams.
Girl I had known for quite a while.
Okay.
Since she was 16 years old, she was 21 then.
Okay. And I guess you corresponded with her while you were in the service?
No, we didn't get back together until I had come back and was already out of the service.
Ah, okay. Did you retire out there at GD or Consolidated or whatever it was?
No, as a matter of fact, I left GD, well, it was Consolidated then, and went to the bomber plant in Grand Prairie.
Okay.
And worked over there for a couple of years and started to college then on GI Bill. So I got all of my GI Bill, all of my undergraduate work on the GI Bill and practically all of my master's degree on the GI Bill. So it turned out to be a wonderful thing for me, I'll tell you.
Do you have brothers and sisters, Sam?
I have a brother and a sister living. I have one brother dead and one sister dead.
Did your brother ever serve in the military?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was in the military, and my dad was in the military when I wanted to join the Army or the Navy, And Dad would not sign my papers for me, so that's when I got in the Merchant Marines.
I'll be. You have children?
Do I have children?
Yes.
Yes.
Do they have any military? 4?
4 kids. Yeah.
Wow.
No, because we just haven't been no real reason to mobilize a whole lot, in the last number of years. Yeah, I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
Okay.
And I might say I lost my wife here about 3 years ago.
So you live here by yourself, I guess?
Yeah, right. Well, we came out here together. She needed to get out here where she didn't have anything to do, and she made it for about 5 or 6 months out here.
And
So
as
I've
soon
just stayed on.
as soon as your leg gets straightened out, you're going to go back to running.
I'm gonna go back to running. I
bet.
enjoy it. I think it's a healthy lifestyle. I think it's good for me.
You bet. Well, sir, we certainly appreciate you taking the time, Sam, to come see us this morning. Appreciate your time in the service.
Well, that's fine. I'm glad that you're doing this. I think it's something pretty nice to be doing.
Well, your grandchildren and
Yeah. As a
great
matter,
grandchildren, et cetera, will have a DVD disc that they can look at. That's what Peepaw did.
well, my kids have all at one time or another said, "Dad, why don't you sit down and just write a little bit every few days? Just write some stuff down from your early memory, you know, up to now." Oh, I will. Okay, sure. I never have done it.
You bet, sir.
That's it, huh?
Yep.
All right.
You bet.